Which is better, a regular old one-speed bike or a new 10-speed bike? The answer depends. One of my favorite life stories is about Sydney and his one-speed bike. Maybe it was because it reminds me that the good old days are not always the best. And one of the biggest words that we must learn is the word next. Approaching 80 years, Sidney had been frugal and had provided well for his financial needs. He came by my office to say hi one day. It was not the visit that surprised me, but how he got there. Sidney had a can route that he ran every day. Let me explain. He put wire baskets on an old-fashioned bicycle and would ride up and down his self-appointed route and pick up cans on the side of the road. He did it to make money. He had money, but he still wanted to earn more. One day, I went out in front of the church building just as he rode up on his old, wobbly, one-speed bicycle. Since I knew he could afford anything he wanted to buy, I asked him, Sidney, why don't you buy a new bike, a 10-speed bike? He thought for a moment and then answered, I can barely use the one speed I have. Sidney grew up in a time when one-speed bikes were the norm. It had been that way all his life, and he was not going to change something that worked. He was right. His one-speed bike did work. It worked. But there was something better. A few years later, Sidney died, and he still had that one-speed bike. It has been many years since that event, but every so often I remind myself about Sidney's one-speed bike. I think about that story when I get stuck on how things used to be. The future is unknown, and in an effort to bring comfort to it, we cling to how things used to be. Well, you cannot go back in time. Well-adjusted, happy people are people who can look to the future and embrace whatever it brings. Embrace that word next. As Christians, we do not know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future.